Hello, hi, and welcome to the vlog. Hi. So today we are going to be discussing something super important, and I actually wrote down a list of points. I've basically gotten a lot of DMs about this, and I saw one comment that specifically resonated with me, and I ended up responding to this person and telling them that I was going to make a YouTube vlog to try to help them. And it's not the first time that I've done this, but I've had a lot of messages and comments directly asking me to help people with this. So this person basically commented and said it was like a physique video, and I was essentially talking about how this is like a 6-week transformation. Just kidding, this took half a decade. And you need to be really you need to learn how to love the process, and most importantly you need to be wary of other fitness influencers who are just there to capitalize off of your insecurities, as opposed to for the purpose of selling you something. And someone commented, I can't say the full username, but it's let's just say it says country crafter. And it says, I wish I could look like you, but my hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, CFS, and fibro left me bedbound for 4 months. I've gained so much, I don't know where to start now. Now, I need you to understand that this is not going to be I'm making this video specifically for you, but I'm also making it for other people. So take what resonates with you and take what can apply to you, and then just kind of go from there, because I'm going to be discussing a lot of different points here today to try to help you. But it's not going to be tailor-made to every single person who's watching this. So just take what you can and we'll go from there. So by the way, before we begin, welcome to Tis and Pump YouTube, where we discuss my experiences with autism, mental health, disability, chronic illness, and becoming a baby bodybuilder. So I have points. I'm going to be looking at my phone so that I remember what I'm supposed to say, because this is something that is really important to me. And I wanted to try to provide the best advice possible. And I have a tendency to, because of the ADHD, kind of lose myself and forget what I'm talking about. So the first thing that's really important is you need to be honest with yourself and evaluate what your capabilities are, right? I'm going to be teaching you about a variety of things. Again, just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt and make sure that you actively seek out other people. We're going to be talking about all of this, just don't worry. And there may be things that I might repeat by accident, because if I go off, kind of on a tangent, but I made the point later on, we'll figure it out together. We're going to navigate this together. So, I'm going to be talking about some instances where I've been bedbound and my goal has been weight gain, and then my goal has been weight loss, because I'm somebody who, listen, although I'm not competitive and I never will be, I like and live life as a bodybuilder, right? So doing that, the whole point is to build muscle and, craft a physique. What this means is that you go through periods where, you're eating at maintenance, you're eating in a bulk, so a calorie surplus, and then you're eating at a calorie deficit. I'm going to be explaining what these terms mean, how to calculate it, so that you have the knowledge and the tools that you need to succeed. But again, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Always seek out other resources. Speak to your doctor. Just take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, because I'm not the end all be all, obviously, on this. So when it comes to being honest with yourself about what your capabilities are, we all have very different starting points, right? And even if we, follow creators who have the same, disabilities as us, same chronic illness as us, we all experience them differently. In the same way that autism is a spectrum, not everybody has the exact same symptoms of the same illness, and not everybody has the same severity, right? There are times when I've been bedbound, but, and I needed to be in bed. I could barely move, I could barely get up. And there were times where I was bedbound because I spent a life terrified of leaving bed. And in the past 2 months, my life has completely changed. It's so weird. I'm still getting the same type of stuff done, but I'm spending almost all day out of bed, because I really had to teach myself how to spend time out of bed and move to the couch. Because for me, bed became a safe space where I felt safe. I didn't feel safe in the rest of my house, and I had to find ways to push myself to get out of bed. This is where nuance exists, right? Because I'm talking about my own experiences here, and there are people who have the same illnesses that I have, who have varying degrees of severity, right? So it's very important to take what you need out of things, and not everything is going to apply to you. Because some people are bedbound to the point where, yeah, I think it's ME/CFS, and I believe that she said that she has, well, sorry, this user, I don't know how they identify, that's why I'm saying um, they are bedbound. It's been 4 months. They have, CFS, I have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia and hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, but we all have varying severities, right? Some people like me have been bedbound because they've needed to be bedbound, and some people are bedbound because that's all they know, and they're scared to leave bed. Something that's also very important to note is that we all have very different access. When we talk about disabilities and chronic illness, and I'm talking about access, I'm not just talking about severity of disabilities. I'm also talking about access when it comes to opportunities and resources, right? I'm so beyond lucky that at this point in time, despite the fact that I don't have insurance, I have the ability to access medication because I currently have the money to be able to pay for my medication. That has the possibility to change drastically. But right now I have that capability. Right now I have the ability to see a massage therapist every so often. Right now I have the ability to see a dentist twice a year, which I'm going to the dentist. I'm really scared. But anyway, so recognize that we don't all have the same opportunities and the same starting point. I keep drilling in, like, take what you need from this because not everything applies. I just want to make sure that people understand that this isn't blanket advice because, again, not everybody has the same access. I need to shut the up. I'm starting to annoy myself because I'm super repetitive, but I just wanted to, it's just important to note, like, you can't talk about these things without nuance, because a lot of people will just give you blanket statements on how to get things done, but they don't understand that not everybody has the same circumstances as they do. So I just feel that's why I'm, like, drilling it in. Okay, yes, and if you have any other questions, you can leave them below. Sorry, I'm just trying to, like, read what I have here, but also not repeat the same which I just do. It is what it is. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to hear probably the same thing multiple times. Okay, something that I want to say is take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Yeah, everything that I'm saying is based off of research that I've done personally over the past few years, because fitness and nutrition really became, like, an autistic special interest of mine. I've learned a lot through social media and through podcasts, specifically the Fitness Stuff for Real People podcast. It's so funny because when I first began content creation, Tony Trainbloom, I've talked about him in several YouTube videos. He followed me. I followed him. He gave me lots of advice. I became a fitness coach, like, because of his advice. And then he unfollowed me, which, you know what? I think that I understand why he did. I think it's because I started doing the type of work that I do. My content didn't change, but the thing is that when it comes to content creation, sometimes you shift, or sometimes, like, your value system changes as a person, and, like, someone's content no longer applies to you, or you no longer enjoy it, or whatever it may be. And that's okay. We are all in the like, we all change and transform all the time, right? And sometimes who we shift into, or who we become, or who we start to do, like, it no longer benefits the other person. So that's okay. But I mention his podcast because he is an incredible person, and he really likes to help people, and he doesn't like to demand a lot of people in regards to giving him money so that he can benefit off of it, right? Like, he just creates really well-crafted content, very palatable, very easy to understand, with good graphics. He actually recommended the book to me called The Iconist, and he very much kind of lives, like, his life and creates content very much based off of that book. But his content and his podcast, along with Mariana's Pantry on Instagram, they provide an unbelievable service. Like, they give a lot of resources to people, but mainly they talk about fitness and nutrition, and they do it in very palatable and very easy to understand ways, and they do it almost all for free. Like, the podcast itself, it's free, and it's a very fabulous, great, and free resources. And a lot of what I've learned has come from that. And I would just highly recommend it. If you're beginning a fitness and nutrition journey, it's something that I would really look into if you're looking for specific things that you don't know things about and you want to understand and learn about them. Something to note that's important too is when you are seeking information, I'm going to read my notes. A lot of people, like, if you are looking at people who speak in absolutes with little nuance and they use tactics to try to scare you, it's most likely not going to be someone who greatly benefits you. There are lots of dietitians who create great accounts filled with lots of information, but like, look to people who also tell you to look for other sources. That's important. Like, that what they're saying is not, an absolute, and telling you to seek out other people and other information, other studies is very important. There's a reason, why this is, I don't know if it's $1 billion industry, multi-billion dollar industry, $1 trillion industry, but a lot of people who are in this industry understand what it takes to get to a point with a physique, right? And then they lie about how they get there. Like, for example, you have people who have, been training for a really long time, and I am going to get into this. I am going to get into what you need to do next. I just wanted to also help you understand that not everybody creates content to try to benefit you. A lot of people create content to benefit themselves, which I do understand to a degree because we all have to make money, right? But there's a reason why I don't do brand deals. It's because a lot of the times people are asking me to promote something that goes against, my morals and value systems. It's something that would make me a lot of money, but it's something that I would never use, and I don't feel comfortable providing it to my followers. That's why I do the kind of work that I do, because I would literally rather spread these, for the world to see than sell things to my community that I don't believe will benefit them and that I believe will harm them. Like, for example, and this is something that I think it was one of the first episodes that I've listened to on the Fitness Stuff for Normal People podcast. It was talking about how greens, like powdered greens, are a scam, specifically when it comes to supplements. The supplement industry is unregulated. What that means essentially is that people can put whatever they want in things and then sell it to you. And something to be very wary of is if you're going to use supplementation, which is really important, because at least for me as somebody who's autistic, and if you're chronically ill, like, it's especially sometimes if you have, food aversions, sometimes supplementation is necessary to be able to achieve your goals. Like, for example, if, if you really have an aversion to fruits and vegetables and you need to get more fiber, I take a fiber supplement. Green supplements can be, I guess, beneficial to people, but a lot of people sell supplements under what are called proprietary blends. This essentially means that they can say that it contains a certain, thing that you need, for example, like creatine gummies, but it only contains like the tiniest amount that's not even close to what you need for it to actually benefit you. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just very scammy and very hard. So if you are looking for supplements, like, a great thing to do is look for people who are third-party tested, because that means that what they're saying is inside of it is actually what's inside of it. So, there are a lot of people who understand what it takes to get to a point with a physique, and then they lie about how they get there. Like, for example, people who talk about how, 6-week summer shred transformations and get rid of the lower belly pooch with 2 dumbbells, for 10 minutes a day. The reality of it is like, you cannot do something that's called spot reducing fat, right? We all genetically hold fat in certain places differently based off of our genetics. As women specifically, we have a tendency to store a lot of fat in our abdomen, but abdominal muscles are the same. And I am sorry, because I am trying to get to you to help you, but this is going to be a marathon, not a sprint, right? And there are going to be chapters so that you have the ability to go to what serves you best and jump ahead. But abdominal muscles are the same as any other muscle in the body, right? A lot of people train abdominal muscles thinking that if they train them, that they'll lose fat in that area. But that's not how it works. Like, abs are built in the gym, but they're revealed in the kitchen, right? And I'll get more into that in a second. But the reason why a lot of people understand what it takes to build a physique, and then sell you something that doesn't work long term, is because that's what sells. Because the reality of it is, fitness and nutrition is not supposed to be something that has an end point, or like, it's something that you're supposed to do sustainably so that you can achieve results that benefit you long term, because it's not just all about aesthetics. Like, it may be for you if you're watching this, but in reality, like, I engage in certain types of training, which is called hypertrophy training, that, yes, like, it has aesthetic benefits because I am a bodybuilder. I like doing things to try to craft a certain physique, but I also have Ehlers Danlos. I'm also chronically ill. Like, training can benefit you for life, right? Like, it's important to do, to be able to have mobility, to be able to get yourself out of bed. Again, this is where nuance comes into it, right? Not everybody has the same starting point. Not everybody has the same ability. But yeah, you need to realize that it's not long term. Yes, and you need to do what you can to live a better life throughout your life to the best of your ability, with the resources you have in your specific abilities, or in this case, disabilities. So we're going to talk right now about what calories are, okay? Because a lot of people are chronically ill and bedbound, and medication that they take. I've been in situations personally where medication has made me extremely nauseous, suppressed my appetite, and I've wanted to gain weight. That happened to me last December. And there were points in my life also where medication was, impacting my goals at the time, which were to be in a deficit. And it made it substantially harder, right? So calories are just energy. And when you're trying to lose or gain weight, what you want to do is essentially figure out energy balance. Again, calories, so food that you eat, you're just consuming energy. So when I first started doing this, and I need you to be very aware of what I'm talking about, and I'm going to kind of let you know that I'm going to be talking about tracking right now, because tracking is not for everybody. As somebody who has suffered and dealt with and just, I don't even know if I can say the word here, but like, the way that I have consumed food has shifted over time, and I've had tendencies and habits. You have to use specific words here. Since I was 13. Right? And there are some people that deal with that stuff that tracking is not for them. Tracking personally helped me as someone who has struggled with, but it's because I didn't realize how much I was consuming. A lot of people, when they begin a health and fitness journey, specifically around food, a lot of people almost all the time think that they're eating significantly more than they're actually eating, or they're eating significantly less than what they think that they're consuming. So when I started doing this, I wanted to understand tracking, because if you want to get to a certain goal, a lot of the times tracking can be a very beneficial tool. It's not something that needs to be done for the rest of your life, but it can be a very helpful tool to get you where you want to be. So the way that I essentially started is the advice that Tony Train Bloom gave to me was, figure out what your maintenance calories are. So what maintenance calories is the amount of energy and what you need to consume, right, or expend to basically have the scale not move. And essentially, when you are engaging in something like strength training, and you're eating at maintenance calories, so you're consuming the energy that it needs to be, like that you're at to not lose or gain weight, what ends up happening is you can build muscle and lose fat at the same time. Now, if you are bedbound, this is going to be a different situation for you, because you're probably not able to lift weights and go to the gym. There are accounts that do exist. I don't know what they are off of the top of my head, but there are accounts that you can look at where they have exercises that you can do if you spend the majority of the day in bed. It's all about figuring out where you're at and what can you do for you and your abilities. So, one sec, I'm just looking at this. So basically, if you talk about trying to, like, you begin by trying to figure out what your maintenance is and what your goals are. So some people have the goal of losing weight, some people have the goal of gaining weight. And you start by figuring out what your maintenance is. So there are varying ways to do this. I personally, what I did is I went online, I took a look at, you just like Google, put in your search engine maintenance, maintenance calorie like calculator. The guy that I was talking about, Tony, on his website, he has a free maintenance calorie calculator. It's very effective. I've used it so many times. You can also just, like, what I did specifically in the beginning before that tool existed on his website is I basically just went to 3 different maintenance calculators, added them up, and then divided them by 3 to figure out what it was. So I figured out what my maintenance is, and then what you do next is you track what you're eating, right? And what I have the tendency to track through a calculator that I have called macros is I just track my macronutrients. So macronutrients consist of 3 different groups. There are carbohydrates, there are proteins, and there are fats. I don't calculate micronutrients, so things like vitamins and minerals. That's what I calculate. I don't even calculate fiber, which I probably should, but that's besides the point. So I'm getting a little bit like I'm trying to reel myself back in to remember what I'm talking about and where I'm at here. So you basically calculate what maintenance is and where to start, and then you eat at that for 2 to 3 weeks, and then you see what your results are like. For example, right? If you go online and you go into a macros calculator and it says that your maintenance calories are 2,500, right? And you eat at 2,500 for the next 3 weeks and you happen to gain a little bit of weight. What it's saying is that your maintenance needs to be reduced because that it's higher than your actual true maintenance is. So I think that when it comes to, at least for me, fitness and nutrition, when I first started doing the nutrition aspect of it, because I genuinely thought that I could out-train like a bad diet. I thought that I could really eat whatever I wanted and still achieve the same goals. That's not the case, unfortunately. And again, this can apply to you if you're trying to lose or gain weight. But I had a really hard time with the concept of meal prepping. And the reason why is, like, sometimes things shift for me throughout the day and I want more of a certain item and less of a certain item. So for me, what I do personally, and this is not what you have to do, but I've had clients in the past when I used to do fitness coaching, and they had a hard time with this as well. And what I suggested to a specific client is what I ended up doing, and it ended up helping her achieve her goals, which is what I have the tendency to do is at the time, I tend to, at one time, and this works great specifically if you, like, are bedbound and you have a hard time kind of cooking everything every single day, is I make 2 types of protein, enough for like the week, and then 1 carbohydrate. Usually for me, it's rice, and for me right now, it's chicken and shrimp. So I just cook those in large quantities so that I can easily reheat them without having to go through the process of cooking them like every single night. It all depends where you're at too, right? I went through a period last summer where I was kind of like 6 months into my deficit, 4 to 6 months into my deficit. And at the time, I was so severely bedbound. I had like my first ever pain flare, like not my first ever pain flare, but that was as bad as it was. I had some circumstances going on in my life that I've never talked about on here, that I probably will not, that caused me to have so much stress that the pain was so bad that I couldn't even bend down to plug something in. I couldn't lift anything that was like more than like 2 like, I tried to go to the gym during that period. I couldn't even lift machines to adjust them to use them with no weight. Like, it was so bad. I had moved in with my mom because I could not do anything for myself. So this is where it comes in, where you just take what you can get from it, because this advice not applies to everybody. And I was super lucky at this point because my mom had just moved back from Ecuador and she was able to be there to help me. Not everybody has that. Like, not everybody's lucky enough. And this is sometimes where having the disability tax like comes into play. It's very hard, and sometimes we don't have people to help us with things. We don't have people to meal prep, but I'm just trying to give advice to the best of my ability. A lot of times, like, we don't have access to transportation, but we need groceries, so we have to Instacart things, and it ends up costing a lot more. It's just hard and it sucks, but you take what you can get from this. So, something that I also wanted to note is like AI calculators are like, if you're trying to track your macros, the reason why they're right is because, let's say I'm making, for example, like a bowl of pasta, right? And it's quite a large bowl, but I'm putting a shitload of olive oil in it. We're talking about, this is me pouring it and going glug 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 glug. That's about, let's say if it's a full bottle and it's, the most of it is coming out, that could be 800 calories right there. Olive oil is great, especially if you want to gain weight, because I believe that 1 tablespoon for like extra virgin olive oil is around 120 calories. So it's a great tool if you're trying to make your food more calorie dense. But the thing is like, the calculator recognizes what it can see. Let's say I have a shitload of cheese and I put the cheese and I mix it into the pasta, but it can't see it. That's why they're like, it could be, I guess, a great tool, but I don't know. Like, I've had so many companies message me asking me to, like, for them to give me brand deals to promote them. I could never. It just doesn't work. I personally use an app called Macros. That's what I use. And basically what you can do is and it's free, you can scan the food like using a barcode, and then it can put all the information in there. When I first got it, I didn't realize that this was the thing, so I was manually putting everything in. What you can do is add meals, specific meals that you make, which is fabulous for me because I eat the same thing every day. So I just add the meals, and if I want to eat more of chicken or want to have more of mayonnaise or whatever it is, you can adjust it manually. Okay, I need to just take a second and kind of reel myself back in. So yeah, when I was cooking stuff, I'd just make a bunch of protein, make a bunch of carbs at once, so that it was a lot easier for me to just reheat things as opposed to standing when sometimes it's hard for me, and like cook every night. Another thing too is like, if you're bedbound and you're having a really hard time, but you have the ability to go to your kitchen, and like me, I have a hard time sometimes standing. I feel like I'm going to pass out. You need to make things as accessible as possible for yourself, right? I often, when I'm doing this, when I'm engaging in like meal prepping or cooking a bunch of, rice, chicken, and shrimp at the same time, is I'll pull a dining room chair or, a chair, a stool, whatever, and I'll cook like that. It's all what you can do, but it's not all, like, everything that I'm saying that I do is not necessarily attainable for everybody. I'm just doing the best that I can. I'm so sorry. But the thing is too, is if you're bedbound, there are small things that you can do to move your body, but it's not achievable for everybody, right? That's where you need to be really honest with yourself about where you're personally at. And I had to be honest with myself recently because I was in a lot of pain, but bed for me was my safe space. And I was lucky enough, and I am lucky enough currently, that I am so much less sick than a lot of other people, right? And I had to be honest with myself. Am I here because I'm scared, or am I here because I really need to be? Because I spent a lot of time lying down, but can I lie down on the couch? I was scared to. Like, I brought my duvet down, I brought my pillows down to make it feel like it was more like bed, and I couldn't do it. I started panicking. I went back upstairs, but the thing that ended up shifting for me, that got me out of bed, and again, this doesn't apply to everybody, but I needed to find a way to feel safe in other parts of my house. And I actually did that by picking up scrapbooking again. It was something that I did when I was a kid. It brought me so much joy. And doing that literally one time and taking one therapy session downstairs while lying down on the couch. I'm in so much pain right now. It's crazy. Because I never sit up. I'm always lying down. But doing those two things shifted everything for me. I quite literally, my whole life has changed in the past 2 months, because for the first time, I'm spending almost all day out of bed. And that just came from creating a safer environment for me like feeling that I can feel safe in other areas of my house. It might not apply to you. You might not have the ability to do that. I'm just talking about my specific circumstance here. But there are small things that you can do to move your body. And, you know, if you have the ability physically, like for me, sometimes it's so hard to do, but starting off the day, making your bed, and I'm talking about if you are bedbound, okay, I'm not talking, not everything has to be perfect, right? You do what you can that applies to you. In the same way of brushing your teeth, it doesn't have to be perfect every time. You just have to get to an end result and eliminate unnecessary steps. For some people, if making their bed for them can be just turning the cover back over, you know, maybe fluffing one pillow. For some people, it can be, you know, they remove all their bedding. Some people, you know, if they're bedbound and like me, they eat in bed, you know, it's swiping the crumbs off of the bed. Sometimes, you know, if you're eating in bed, like I have a food blanket, literally, I have a blanket that's quite literally just for food because I am in pain. You know, I eat almost all of my meals lying down. So I have a specific blanket because I drop food all of the time that I allow it to get stained. I get crumbs on it, and that's okay for me. But I believe genuinely that if you can make your bed every single day, and it seems counterintuitive, especially if you're bedbound, you're like, why the fuck would I make my bed if I'm just going to get back in bed all day? It helps you. If you start the day off with completing one small simple task, it can give you the confidence to do other things. It's called habit stacking, right? Well, not that specifically, but I have changed my life from habit stacking. I made a separate video on it and I talk about it all the time. But there are accounts that can provide you, again, I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but I've passed by and seen them, that are tailored to specific chronic illnesses or tailored to exercises that you can do as a chronically ill person or based off of your disability, like training when you're hypermobile, when you have hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, or things that you can do in bed to move your body. It all starts with starting small, determining what your specific capabilities are, and then testing and pivoting based off of how you react to certain things, right? Because we might think that we're capable of doing something and it might put us in a flare. Like, this is why, like, tracking what you're doing, and I'm not just talking about food, can be very helpful, you know, especially if you're trying a bunch of new medications and shit. If you're trying to do new things, tracking how you feel, how it affects you, you know, can be very helpful. Okay, working out with your bed, understanding. Okay, the one thing that I can offer as advice is to follow people who have the same conditions of you, but who speak on things in a sense of not what's capable for them, but what's capable for everybody. Because nuance is important, right? If you have someone who has hypermobile Ehlers Danlos and they're giving you absolutes of, I'm in the gym, this is the exercise, you know, that you need to do to achieve your goals, but people have varying degrees of hypermobile Ehlers Danlos. People are also at different stages of it, right? So some people might not have the same abilities. We're talking about abilities in regard and access. We're talking about abilities and access in the form of monetary, you know, when it comes to transportation, being able to afford a gym membership, you know, having the ability to navigate through a gym, because some people who have this are in wheelchairs. You know, we all have varying degrees of it. And a lot of gyms, like my gym, if I had a walker, like, it's barely accessible with a cane. But if I had a wheelchair, I wouldn't be able to go. It's impossible. So, yeah, like, the thing is too, is like, if you're following your favorite fitness influencer, like a big thing that I can suggest, right? Because I often, like, I would look online to find how people do exercises. And unfortunately, right, I didn't know that I had hypermobile Ehlers Danlos when I began consistently going to the gym for the past 5 years. So I would just, like, find favorite people that I liked watching their workouts, to explain their workouts, and I would do what they did. Here is the important thing to note. If you have hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, if you are hypermobile, if you have, like, I think it's hypermobility spectrum, I'm not sure. If you are hypermobile, right, your joints extend past the point where they're supposed to go. So in videos and fitness videos, specifically with people who are normal, who are not disabled, who don't have the same issues as you, and it's fine to consume their content, but you need to take what you can from it and understand your own abilities. In the sense that we're talking about a lot of times in fitness videos, people will talk about range of motion and they tell you to do full range of motion. This is where it gets tricky for you specifically if you are hypermobile, because a lot of people, for example, will talk about doing squats, and I actually just can't even show you because I can't even do a body weight squat right now. I used to be able to put 135 on my back and squat, not anymore. But a lot of times if someone is telling you like a specific range of motion, for example, if you're doing something like cable delt flies, right? And the video is showing that you're grabbing it from back here, you're doing single arm rear cable delt flies, and they're moving it all the way down to here and like past their back, you are going to need to shorten your range of motion. I mean, this is just what I have done personally, because we partially or dislocate parts of our body by accident, right? So if you are hypermobile and they're telling you to reach your full range of motion, so go back as far as you can. A lot of people tell you like go as far as you can. Your as far as you can is not the same as the person who's watching it if they are not disabled, right? So this is where shorter ranges of motion can be beneficial for you, because you need to evaluate what you're capable of. An example of that is when I am doing leg extensions, if I'm lucky to be able to do them, I can only do them with like 10 to 15 now. So it's a machine where essentially you go like this and you push up against a pad when you're in the gym, and it's for training your quads. What I do when I do it, because I have hypermobile knees, and when I used to do it, I would extend my knees so that they were bending backwards, is I will put my hand on my knee and I will know that when I lift my legs up, it taps my knee so that I know when to stop. Like I know where this, again, when it comes to fitness and nutrition, a lot of it is trial and error, right? Even if you hire a coach, for example, who has been doing this for a long time, or you hire a dietitian, or you hire someone who is trained in your, disease, your chronic illness, your specific, tailored to your specific needs, it's still all trial and error, especially when it comes to tracking calories, especially when it comes to doing exercises. This is where recording like what you're doing is very beneficial and very helpful. Like it can be also within exercises, because you can see, if you're like, wow, I'm in a lot of pain after training. If you're taking a look at videos and you're seeing yourself hyperextend, that's when you have the ability to know, okay, we need to pull this back a little bit. But okay, I'm losing myself here. I'm so sorry. Also, if this video is all over the place, I am doing my best to follow my notes, but I understand that this is a kind of take what you need situation. But yeah, your range of motion is going to be different than normal people. So follow people who have the same condition as you, but also realize that we have all varying kind of differences. And just because, for example, like if you follow me and you have hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, but you're more bedbound and you are in a wheelchair, not everything that I say is going to apply to you, right? If you're in a different financial situation than me and you don't have access in regards to time, in regards to money, you don't have the ability to go to the gym, if I'm giving you a workout that is in a gym, but you don't have the ability to go there, it's not going to apply to you. I don't specifically make a lot of how to workout videos because I am not trained in that. It's not something that I feel confident necessarily giving advice on, because it's not something that I'm trained in. Something that really we need to talk about and is unbelievably important, probably the most important part of this video, and it's not even what you think it's going to be, is having mindset and perspective shifts. Okay, just stick with me here for a second, because I know your eyes are gonna roll right now, and as they should. But something that really changed for me, and it changed my whole life, and I've talked about this. I was talking with a disabled icon, like that's her username, because she has Ehlers Danlos as well, but she also has I'm not gonna divulge what she said and what her conditions are, because that's not my space. She's been open about having hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, however, but I just wanted to protect her privacy. But her and I were chatting about, because I said to her, like, my life really changed when I had a mindset shift, and she said same. Like, what ended up happening really is I've been sick my whole life, but I've been told that it's been normal by doctor after doctor after doctor. It's not normal to injure yourself from standing. It's not normal to vomit for years on end, multiple times a day, every single day. It's not normal to constantly have diarrhea. It's not normal to like shit yourself, okay? It's not normal. Like there are so many things that I just experienced, and I was told it's anxiety, it's depression. Hey, here's the thing, okay? If you're bedbound because you're so tired that you literally can't move, and every time you stand up you pass out, so you spend literally 18 to 22 hours a day in bed and you can't do anything, you're gonna be depressed because you literally can't get anything done. I don't think that I suffered from major depressive for as long as the doctors said that I did, because anyone would be depressed if they spent every single minute of every single day in bed and they had no ability to get anything done. Anyway, I'm starting to get really emotional here. So last April, when something happened to me, a whole bunch of things happened at once, but a really major stressful life situation happened that I didn't talk about on here. I probably never will. And I had the worst pain flare of my entire life. I was going to the doctor every few days. We were trying so many different medications. Like, I was living with my mom and couldn't do anything. And she even said to me, she was like, I don't know what you did in a past life. Like, I don't know what you did or who you were, but I think you were a bad person, because the way that you are being punished right now, like, and you've been punished throughout your entire life, but specifically right now, like, I feel like you must have been a bad person in your past life. And I was like, I kept asking every single day, this is so unfair. Like, I've got all these mental health issues, and then on top of it, I've got the physical health issues. Like, I am in so much pain. It is excruciating. And it's like, I'm autistic, so I understand with chronic illness, right? That if you go to an ER, especially me, as somebody who, in my file, I'm 13 years sober, they label you as pain seeking. Even if I go there and I say, that's not what I want, I literally just need an MRI, I want you to help me. Like, I have a very hard time in an emergency room. There are people that are sick, and I'm in excruciating pain. You know, it's uncomfortable, and almost all the time, you don't get help. You never get help, so I didn't go because I was like, I'm in excruciating pain, like in a comfy bed. Like, I can't, nothing is gonna help me. And I constantly would just be doing what I could to get through every second. And it was one of the hardest points of my life. Like, I've had really hard points. I've gone through a lot of hard shit, but that was something that I'd never gone through. And it was so hard. And the thing that was so hard is I had no idea when it was going to end. And there was a moment for me that it shifted. Right? I was trying everything, a bunch of different medications. You know, I was trying cupping, I was trying acupuncture. And I went into the acupuncturer's office, and they said something to me that shifted everything. You know that quote from the bear? Even if you don't know, it's like a sound on TikTok or whatever. And it goes, I just had this switch in me, like, and it flipped, and I was like, no, that. I've always really disliked yoga. I've never been a fan of it. Apparently a lot of people like it. Never liked it, can't stand it. I was going there, and she told me that she also suffered with chronic pain. And maybe this is going to come off wrong, but I'm just describing my experiences. Like, if you like yoga, if you only have the ability to do yoga or chair yoga, which is what I'm about to mention, I'm not speaking badly about it. Like, I'm telling you what my experience is in this moment, and you just take what you want from it. But she said to me, she's gone through pain, and something that has really helped her is chair yoga. And I was like, I hate yoga. I'm a bodybuilder. I go to the gym like this is. I went from training 5 days a week to not being able to plug something into the wall, like chair yoga. Are you kidding me? So I was like, a switch flipped in me, and I was like, no, I'm gonna get better. And the thing is, and I have this tattooed. It was my second tattoo. And it was actually the tagline of my company back in the day. And it says, there's always a cure. When there isn't, right? There's no cure for autism. There's no cure for But it's not about that. It's about the mindset shift, right? And I didn't say to myself, I'm going to get better. Like, in the sense that I'm going to be able to deadlift again. I'm going to be able to do barbell back squats again. I said, no, f that. I'm going to get better. And what that meant for me in the moment was shifting my mindset and doing what I could to try to accommodate myself and try to get better. That meant never stopping advocating for myself in a doctor's office. That meant trying medication after medication after medication, searching for answers, pushing for answers, knowing that I had hypermobile Ehlers Danlos and not taking no for a answer because I fit all of the diagnostic criteria. You know, I had a 9 on the Bedbound scale. And excuse me, I'm starting to get a little heated here. But the thing is that, and this is just a side note, the problem is that when you have diagnostic criteria and you're being asked questions by a medical professional, and for me as somebody with autism, I take everything literally, right? So if they're if doctors are evaluating me for the Bedbound scale and they say stand up straight, especially as somebody who's a bodybuilder and who used to model, I understand the cues of how to move my body to stand up in a straight stance, right? They didn't say, stand how you normally stand, which is my hips lean forward, my knees are hyperextended, my back is curved. So the way that they pose questions specifically for hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, which will be changing at the end of 2026, that resulted in me not getting it. So anyway, long story short, which I'm going to make a separate video on, I compiled a huge document to bring to an appointment. And when I had undeniable proof, here's the photos of me doing this. Here's the Bedbound score. Here's like photos of my mouth with the narrow palate. Like here's, you know, me going like just all the bending my thumb to my wrist, everything. It was undeniable proof because a lot of the times, especially as people who are chronically ill, we often, and this is not any hate, well, you know, hatred to the doctors. Yes, I do have hatred for the doctors because a lot of them think that, you know, we are out here just, I don't know anyone. And this, I need to reel myself back in because I'm about to go off on a tangent, but I don't know anyone who wants to be sick. I don't know anyone who wants to have a chronic illness. What we want is a diagnosis, not for the label, but so that we have the ability to stop searching and be able to focus on what it is so that we can understand how to best accommodate ourselves. Anyway, I need to reel myself back in because I honestly have no idea what the fuck I was talking about. Oh, I hate when this happens. I'm so sorry. I'm going to find... Okay, shifted into acceptance. Yes. Advocating for yourself is so important, and oftentimes as chronically ill people, we have the tendency to do so much research and figure out what's wrong with us before the doctors even do, or they don't even believe us. But what it meant for me at the time when the switch flipped is I was like, I'm never going to stop, and I've always been like this. I'm never going to stop searching for answers. I'm never going to stop trying to make myself better, and I'm never going to stop trying, right? And that meant at the time, despite the fact that I was bedbound, is I had to figure out and be really honest with myself. What do I have the ability to do right now where I can help myself with my goals? Okay, so I'm bedbound, right? And that means that, and we can get into this in a separate video, that means that if you have TDEE, which is total daily energy expenditure, which is, your maintenance, because a lot of people think that calories are burned mainly through exercise. No, a lot of it, but we're talking about, I'm just trying to drill my point out here. I'm so sorry. Non-exercise movement, right, is a huge way that you burn calories through the day. Another way is through digesting food, but, and step count, for example. But if I'm not moving, if I'm not walking, then my maintenance calories is way significantly lower than it would be if I were going to the gym or being mobile, right? So the only thing that at that moment, when I was in that huge pain flare that I could control was one, my mindset and shifting it from why is this happening to me into acceptance and then figuring out my goals are and how I could reach them. So at the time I wanted to lose weight, right? And that meant that the only thing that I could control really were my calories. My mom luckily was able to stand at the kitchen and make some chicken for me. That's not going to apply to everybody. Not everybody has a caregiver that, is able to take care of them. Not always am I going to have one. But I had to learn to control what I could control. And I had to shift into acceptance, because chronic illness means forever, right? It's not something that's going to go away. Maybe there will be times where my symptoms will improve. Sometimes I'll be in flares, they'll get worse. They also, get worse with time. Like, things happen, right? But shifting into acceptance is what really, really helped me and benefited me, because it went from, why is this happening to me? I don't deserve this. This is to, yes, this is really hard. This is something that I have, and that's life. Life is suffering. It's just hard. It's really hard. And some people have it easier than others. Some people with the same condition are so much more disabled by it than other people. But the one thing that you have the ability to control is your mindset, right? And that's when things shifted for me, where I was like, I'm never going to stop trying. I can't, right? And if you are stuck in, why is this happening to me? You'll never move forward. And it's something that you really have to take into account. And when you're bedbound and in so much pain, you can barely stand without passing out, it's normal to think, why is this happening to me? It's normal to be angry, because you don't deserve it. Like, people, we don't deserve it. But you need to figure out ways to shift your perspective. A great way that I have always gone through perspective shift is through books, right? A great book that I would highly recommend is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. It's a fabulous book. He's a fabulous author. I think that he's been very beneficial to me. There are lots of books which I'm going to actually go through and make a carousel on, that I like, favorite books or things that have helped me. But you need to do what you can to understand what your limitations are, and then accommodate yourself however best you can for your needs. Something that's also really important that I've been saying for a really long time is that your 100% is going to look very different than someone else's 100%. And I used to say that to my ex-boyfriend. He would always, anyway, I'm not even going to get into it, but he would always say, like, there's always something with you. And it's like, yeah, I'm vomiting multiple times a day. I can't stand without feeling like I'm going to pass out. I have extreme fatigue, whatever. And your 100% looks different than a healthy person's. And your 100% as somebody with, hypermobile Ehlers Danlos, for example, can look different than my 100%, because we all have varying degrees of severity, right? So just be aware that if you are going to be in a position where you are starting a fitness journey, or you're just scrolling online, or you're looking at other people with the same condition as you, or you're comparing yourself, comparison is a thief of joy, truly, because we all just have varying degrees of severity, and we all have different lives. We all have different things going on. We all have different access. We all have different funds. It's just, your 100% is not going to be the same as somebody else's. So I've had people, come to me and say, well, I have the same thing as you, but I can't go to the gym, and I can't do this, and I can't. It's like, yeah, because we have different lives, and it's hard, but it's also, you need to shift into acceptance to be like, okay, what can I do for myself? Let's evaluate where I'm at, what my needs are, and accommodate them. And we're getting almost to the end. I'm so sorry, this has been so long. But really, the huge thing is that when you've gotten yourself to a point where it just seems like everything is impossible, like meeting your goals are impossible, a lot of us, me at least, I've talked about this so many times, I feel like we all have the tendency to want to change our entire life at once. And while maybe that's possible for some people, I don't really think that it is. For me, it's all about starting small, right? I didn't get to a point where my house is always clean because I just one day made the decision. It starts with one small thing and building on it over time. Habit stacking. Changed my entire life. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, a great, fabulous book. Highly recommend it. Charles Duhigg, fabulous writer. Also, Adam Grant. Adam Grant is fabulous. So I'm just looking at one of my bookshelves right now. I really like Malcolm Gladwell. The first book of his I read was The Power of the Unconscious Mind. It's called Blank. first book I read by him in 2010, he really opened up my mind to nonfiction, and I started pretty much exclusively reading nonfiction at that point. But yeah, there's a lot of books that can be very helpful, but it starts with just doing something really small and achievable based off of your goals, your needs, and your access, right? If you want to, let's say, like the person who made this comment and said, I want to look like you, but I'm bedbound, you need to figure out what you have access to, what you can do, and go from there. It all starts with starting small, because I showed, like the video that they commented on, I showed myself after 5 years of putting in the work. That's half a decade, right? Fitness and nutrition is the world's longest marathon, and it's something that you never get to an end of because you're never done. Like when you are on a journey and you say to yourself, okay, I want to lose 30 pounds, or you're on a journey and you say, okay, I want to gain 30 pounds. Once you get to that point, you're not done. That's what's hard. And we're going to talk about that in a separate video, is like, you know, how to reverse, how to whatever. You also need to learn how to be patient to yourself and kind to yourself. That's like very, very important, because again, we all don't have the same access. We're all not in the same starting position. And one thing too to remember is that when it comes to fitness and nutrition, a lot of people, you know, will come online and be like, you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and you have to do this and do that and make sure every single day you're eating the right things. And it's like, you know, and I've been helping my mom. She lost 20 pounds over the past few months, and I've been helping her. And she'll frequently come to me and say, well, I was bad last night. I ate a bad food. And it's like, first of all, food is, I've talked about this in the last video, food is not inherently bad or good. It's bad. Anything can be bad or good if you're eating it in excess. Like water can be bad if you're having it in excess. It can literally, you know what I mean? Fitness and nutrition and achieving long-lasting results and having the ability to be more mobile, right? Be able to lift yourself off of toilets, to be able to achieve the physique that you want to. It's not about being perfect all the time. I think a lot of us get stuck on this idea of, I'm only going to do this if I can do it perfectly. And a lot of the time too, like as I'm autistic, something that I've learned recently is that perfection is not the goal. It's getting the task done. And it's removing unnecessary steps and trying to get the task done in whatever way that I can that's accessible for me. But when it comes to fitness and nutrition, you just do the best that you can most of the time and you'll achieve great results. Like, even if people are not chronically ill, not disabled, you know, they're perfectly healthy. I'm going to look at my notes for 2 seconds. The reality of it is like no one's capable of being perfect all the time. You're not. Like, it's not something that, like, fitness and nutrition is something that's supposed to be sustainable. So you need to build practices based off of your personal needs and what works for you. But you just have to be kind to yourself. That's another thing too, is like, your worth is not a number on the scale, right? I did not become the very confident person that I am by losing weight and gaining muscle. I became really confident because the person that I am and that I project out is the person who I truly am. Like, I don't just mean when it comes to content, but like, I have become a very disciplined person. And discipline is very hard, specifically when you're chronically ill. Again, not everybody has the same access. Not everybody has the same varying, degrees of illnesses and disabilities. But I get shit done. I stay getting shit done. And I'm not talking about, I told myself, so I'm going to the gym, so I have to go to the gym. Like, confidence comes from being who you say you are. It's not about aesthetics. It's about believing in yourself and your abilities, if that makes sense. I feel like I need to make a separate video on this because I didn't actually really make notes on it. And I feel like when I am speaking from notes, I get caught up in what it says and it kind of gets me off track. I'm going to shut the notes for now. But the confidence really, for me, came in the form of discipline. And it all started, I've talked about this so many times before, with making my bed. One small change, right? And that led to that habit. I started habit stacking, and then that became, okay, I'm going to clean my kitchen, make sure my kitchen's clean every single night, right? And then that became, I'm going to make sure that my bathroom is clean. And that became, when I take stuff out, I just put it away. It's all about starting small based off of your needs. Not everybody has the ability to make their bed. Not everybody has the ability to clean their kitchen We're all just doing the best that we can with what we have. But you need to be really honest with yourself about what your capabilities are and just accommodate yourself. And more than anything, be kind to yourself, because this is really hard. It's very challenging. When you are bedbound, that is so depressing and so hard. But you need to find a way through. You can't survive without having a perspective shift. And you need to realize that yes, like multiple things can be true at once. Yes. Yes, it is unfair. And you don't deserve this, but this is reality and you have to find ways to live it. So, just more than anything, if there are any takeaways from this, I think it would be just, I'm trying to backtrack. It's like, evaluate where you're personally at, what your capabilities are, what your access looks like. Start small and start with being honest with yourself about what you can attain, and have it stack, and realize that changing your life doesn't happen all at once. It starts with really small steps over an extended period of time, and confidence comes from a life, I think, lived in discipline and knowing that you can get done even if you are bedbound. Like, I feel like that was the wrong thing to say. I've been bedbound, but it's just different. We all have very varying degrees of difficulty. I think it's about just doing what you can based off of your needs and understanding that your 100% is not someone else's 100%. And more than anything, it's being kind to yourself. Like, as I said before, your value is not determined by a number on the scale. I think it's also hard with how everything looks in our climate today, how we're seeing celebrities show up in like levels of leanness that you don't even see in bodybuilding shows. Like, it is so unbelievably unhealthy. Just understand that your worth is not determined by the scale. It's not determined by a body fat percentage. Your worth is determined on who you are and how you choose to live your life. Like, what kind of person you are on the inside. It's not about aesthetics. It's about your value system, how you treat other people. But mostly, I think confidence comes from how you treat yourself. And that's the thing. I've been single for 5 years. I never am going to be dating again, because the most important relationship that I have in my life is my relationship to myself. I am the only constant in my life. My mom has been a constant, but she's going to die one day. I'm going to die. The only person who's always around is me. So it's learning how to cultivate a good relationship with yourself. Because if you hate who you are, like losing weight or gaining weight, it's not going to solve your problem for you. A lot of people get into this and they think they're getting into it because they think that losing or gaining weight is what's going to make them happy. You have to learn how to love with yourself, how to sit with yourself, how to feel confident, and it's not just aesthetics. So anyway, this was long as I really do hope that was helpful. I don't know. Probably not. I did the best that I could, and that was good enough. But yeah, to my country crafter, that's not their username. I know you know what it is. Anyway, you can do this. It's hard. Sometimes we go through periods where we're bedbound. Some people are bedbound for life, but you do need to have a perspective shift, and you do also need to realize that things take time. Things often take so much longer than you think that they're going to take, and you need to find ways to enjoy the process. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. I don't know. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. You could like, share, comment, subscribe, but you know what? If you're watching this, you're probably chronically ill and you're tired. So just don't. If you don't like this video, like if you really hated it, I don't know how you made it to the end. As of right now, the running time is 68 minutes and 69 minutes. If you made it to the end of this and you really hate it, I don't know. I appreciate you showcasing the behavior of a fan. Fabulous. But if you really didn't like it, you could tell me why. You could also send it to somebody that you don't like in order to spite them. You could send it to your local Blue Jay. You could print it on a piece of paper, like write the link on a piece of paper, bring it to a sandwich artist. You could, I don't know, like put it in a bottle at the beach and just throw it into the ocean. You could send it to an in-law. Do whatever works for you. But I appreciate you watching. And if you made it to the end, I believe in you. You have the strength. And something that I discussed in my last video is that when you are dealing with all this the depression, the mental illness, the physical illness, the disability, something that I realized a few months ago that I thought was really beautiful is, despite feeling like I wanted to piece out the earth for my whole life, for years, multiple times a day, every day, for over a decade specifically, I wanted to be here more than anybody, despite having those feelings, because I chose to continue to wake up every day. Well, I had lots of unsuccessful attempts, but what I'm saying is that you want to be here. You're here asking these questions because you're trying to better your life, and you want to be here more than a lot of people, because a lot of people have so many better circumstances and they're just coasting. So anyway, I hope that you got something from this. I love you so much. I'm so proud of you. Do you want a kiss on the forehead? I can give you one. I can give you one if you want. You want one? Okay. Okay, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you, and we've got this. But yeah, that's it. YouTube done. And yeah, brother.